I froze in an interview on a red carpet with cameras and a microphone in my face. Hello, my cute and creepy friends. How are you? How are you doing this fine day? If you see that I'm looking like a little damp, it's because it's hot. We have reached the hot time of the year. I mean, well, it's supposed to cool down. Right now it's like 80s out, and it's supposed to cool down again into the 70s, thank God. But it gets hotter in my office because of the lights. So I want to tell you about a special thing that I got to do back in April. And I didn't make this video immediately the second I got back. One, because I was sick. I was sick and I was like kind of recovering from that and just trying to get back to normal. And then two, I had a couple of brand deals that I needed to, for TikTok, not for here, that I was still working on and in the middle of. And that really took up like the majority of my time. The story begins that back in, I want to say February, I got contacted by Turner Classic Movies, TCM, and they were letting me know about their film festival. They were celebrating 30 years since Pulp Fiction. It was going to be a big ordeal. This year, the theme was true crime in movies, something like that. But basically, all the movies were like true crime and like thriller-esque. So it was right down my alley, minus the spooky. I mean, that would be really cool if they did like an all horror movie thing. But there were a couple of really cool horror movies at this thing. But anyway, I got contacted by a very nice woman. She was telling me that they need a couple of influencers to come and promote the event. And I grew up watching Turner Classic Movies. That was something that channel was on like a lot in our family. It's kind of the reason I got into horror, because those were some of the first horror movies that I've seen. And my parents love classic horror. They don't like the current, but they do like classic horror movies. I was immediately intrigued, but then I saw that it was all the way in. There's a spider in my room. It's fine, I can ignore him. But then I found out that it was in LA, of course, like everything else. My first reaction was no. I was like, that's a long ways away, you know. If it was in New York, then like totally. But so I talked it over with Colton, and he was like, ask them some questions about like money and this and that. So I asked them about, would you pay for travel? Is this including hotel? Like da 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 da. She gets back to me and she explains that it won't include travel, but it will include my hotel, food, and then I will be getting a stipend. So I was like, okay, that could pay for travel. So that made it a little bit more interesting. Talked to my husband again about it. We kind of hashed it over, and this is where Sarah's little silliness comes in. So if you don't know this about me, I absolutely hate flying. I hate flying. I hate it so much. I don't know where it came from. I have been flying like my entire life. I've never had a bad, like I've dealt with turbulence, but I've never had like a bad experience where it was like, oh my gosh, we're going to die. So I really don't know where this, I think it's an irrational fear, because I don't have a big reason, but I do. I have it. It's here. It's part of me, and it's crippling. It's not good. So I was kind of relieved at first when he wasn't on board, which sounds so ridiculous, but I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like, he's not into it either. I have an excuse. But then when he was like, this sounds really cool, this could be a really cool opportunity for you to go, I was like, oh, no. So I emailed them back and I was like, we talked on Zoom, and essentially I was required to make one TikTok for them of the event promoting it, and that included a red carpet. Yeah. So I was going to dress up. I was going to have to dress up and walk down a red carpet, and then followed with that would be an interview. And they would be like, what do you love about TCM? We're so glad to see you here. She sent me videos of like past year ones, and I was like, okay. Another fear of mine, public speaking. So this was gonna be like facing some fears. All right, red carpet, never done that, don't know how to, don't even know how to pose. But we're gonna figure it out. So I sat there at the computer looking over travel plans. I was a big brave girl and I booked my trip on a train. I know you were hoping that I would say I booked my flight, right? Then you would have been proud of me. No, I was a baby and I looked at Amtrak and I booked my first train ticket. And I have never, like, I've ridden on trains, I've ridden on subways and all that stuff, but I have never ridden on Amtrak. So I had done a bunch of research. First of all, is it safe? You know, all that stuff. My husband was like, this isn't because you're afraid, is it? And I was like,
No, listen. Yes.
But also, no, you know, we gotta support the railroad. You know, we gotta support the trains, okay? We can't just keep flying. We have to support trains or else they're not going to exist. That all may be true, and I tried to come up with like this PowerPoint presentation trying to convince myself and him that it wasn't out of fear, but it totally was. I did not want to fly, especially alone. Like that to me, like, I already hate flying with Colton, but without him, that sounds like no, please, no, like an episode of Fear Factor. Like, no, thank you. I booked my train ticket and I booked coach. So this was a bare bones trip, and boy, were my bones aching. We get to the station. It's my train is late. It is a late kickoff to the trip. My train left at 11:30 and it was going to get into Chicago, I think around 9 a.m., 10 a.m., something like that. My husband is waiting with me at the station. There is no security check. I don't think they do. Maybe they do something behind the scenes, but you are not checked as an individual. What made me feel better about that is that, like, there is security. Like, Amtrak has their own police. So that made me feel like a little bit better about them not checking the bags. But as I get on my train, everyone's sleeping. It's 11:30. It's very quiet. And we start off. So first of all, the seats were wonderful. The seats were incredible. They're big. There's only 2, so it's not the 3 like awful airplane seats. You can stretch across them. You can like put your legs up and like really stretch across these seats, unless it's a full train. So if it's a full train, then you have to make room for people coming on to the train. Like they'll let you know. They'll be like, this is a full train. Everyone needs to stay in the seat that they booked. So I just kind of sat wherever and I stretched out and I put my headphones in and I just laid there and tried to relax. And at first I was worried I was going to have motion sickness because the train, I read that it rocks. But it's not that bad. It's really pretty smooth. It's just whenever the train goes over, like if it changes onto a different track or something, or if it goes over like up an intersection, then it will do like this, but then it's like smooth again. So that was good. But, and here's the first con. So I just mentioned a pro, the seats. The con was, if you are a light sleeper, good luck to you. If you're a light sleeper, bring earplugs or headphones that are comfortable, like whatever you gotta do. because the train is loud. It is loud. It does its little horn thing, which the horn was actually kind of nice. Like that didn't bother me, but it was a and it's loud. It's loud and it goes all night, obviously. And then there's people boarding. So the train frequently stops along the way, and there's people getting on the train, getting off the train, people that are not thinking about that there's other people sleeping, and they're like, where do you want to sit, Ma? You know, like, it's just, forget about it. If you're a heavy sleeper, you'll probably be fine. As we got into Chicago, I was exhausted because I didn't sleep, but I thought, let's sightsee. The train station was gorgeous. I love Chicago in general. It's such a beautiful city. If you haven't gone, you really should. Got some food, walked around, and went to see the Bean, and the Bean was closed. Is it overrated? Maybe, but it's really cool. Like, especially when you go up to it. It's very cool. That was okay. I walked around the gardens. It was gorgeous. Before you knew it, I was back on my train and I was heading off. I was heading off to Los Angeles. It was straight from Chicago to LA with, of course, stops, many stops along the way. So this was what was I taking? The Southwest Chief, something like that. That was the name of the train I was on. And it was so cool. So it was double decker. They had little stairs. And I met my first friend. He was my little bunkmate there. Very nice man. We had lots of fun discussions. We bonded over Schitt's Creek. It was great. I was telling him that I was really tired and that I hadn't slept the last night, and I was starting to gradually get like sick because I hadn't slept, and maybe there was someone that got me sick. I'm not naming any names. So I was telling him that I was exhausted and that I hadn't slept, and he was like,
well, I do have this drug.
And I was like, what is that? And he was like,
well, it's technically the date R-word drug. It'll help you sleep.
And I was like, I'm good.
Well, I won't be doing any of that, but thank you so much.
And then we both started laughing because I think that he knew that, of course, I wouldn't want that. So we kind of hung out and chatted, and then we both went and got food and this and that. And so the other pro of the train, which is like the main part of the train that's so freaking cool, is we hung out mainly in the scenic cart. I think they call it the scenic cart. I can't remember, but it's floor to ceiling windows. Even when you're just going through a cornfield, it's very cool. And so we hung out in there, like, and just talked the whole time, and then got drinks when we wanted to. Not alcohol, because that cost like $20. Like the food, that was the other con. The food was expensive. If you booked a roomette or like a suite, the food was all complimentary. But if you were a poor and you just did coach, then the food was not complimentary, and it was like $40 per meal. I just kind of survived off of little sandwiches and chips and sandwiches and chips.
I have eaten bread every single day.
And by the end of this trip, I was so sick of bread. I was like, just give me a piece of fruit. The rest of the trip was like pretty uneventful. Like nothing really major happened. We went through the mountains. Like as we kept going, it got more and more pretty, obviously. And we finally arrived in LA, and that was when I was full on phlegm mode. I was coughing so much. There was so much in my chest. I didn't have a sore throat, thank God, but I had a really bad cough, and I was like, it was a couple of days away from this red carpet event that I was going to. So I get my bags, I get off the train, meet up with some friends, and they graciously let me stay with them. I had in advance told them about everything, and I stayed with them. And I hung out with one of my dear friends. We went to Beetle House, but like beyond that, I stayed home. I did nothing. I did which it sucked. It sucked because I would have loved, I was in LA, so I would have loved to have shopped. I would have loved to have done things, but because I was sick, I had to just stay on the couch and watch Vanderpump Rules and get attacked by a pug and a bulldog. As the event approached, I got to my hotel. It was at the Lowe's Hotel. It was very nice. It was right near the event, which was Hollywood Boulevard. If you know anything about LA, Hollywood Boulevard is like, it's the Times Square of LA. It's maybe even worse though, honestly. It's just not fun. It's gross. It's hot. There's all kinds of smells. And like everyone is trying to sell you things and people are screaming into megaphones. It's so annoying. Everyone is like trying to stop and take photos of their freaking feet because it's the stars, so they're trying to take photos of these stars, and I was always trying to get to a meeting and I'm like in a hurry. So anyway, that was annoying that it was in Hollywood, but I get there, I get settled in. Caroline is the one that's taking care of me. I met my other people that I'd be like not working with but sharing the event with. Everyone at this event, in charge of it, involved with it, a guest of it, divine, so lovely, the sweetest people ever. So that was awesome, just being met with like warm, smiling faces. And the fact that like I was sick just made it so much better because I was like, I'm so sorry. I was wearing a mask the whole time, but they were all like, oh my God, it's totally fine. Don't worry about it. Once I got checked in, it was the day before the event and I rested and I had these questions I was going to be asked in that interview after the red carpet. And so I was just preparing for that. Before I knew it, it was the day of. It was the day of the red carpet. I had gotten up that morning. I took a shower. I ordered food. I was watching TV. And then before I knew it, it was like an hour before the event. Like, I don't know what happened. I needed to be there at 4 o'clock. That's such a reasonable amount of time. I don't know like why I'm so bad at time management, but like I am. I'm not the worst, but I'm pretty bad. But before I knew it, it was like 3 o'clock, 2:33, and my hair was still wet. And I had to do my makeup. I had to iron my dress. I had to do my nails. Sarah. So I'm running around, I'm blow drying my hair, I'm putting on my lashes, and it got to a point where I had to make an adult decision and not put my nails on. I was like, Sarah, you do not have time. You have 15 minutes left until you have to be there at the red carpet and walk it. You do not have time for your nails. I'm so sorry, honey. I literally needed to finish putting on this eyelash and then run out the door. I was running to the red carpet. My hair was okay. It was put back in a bun. My dress looked great. I will say that. My dress looked really cute. I loved it. I had so many people compliment me. I was a little bit worried that it was too casual, but I loved it. I thought it was very Alice in Wonderland, and I had several people say that. Like, that is so Alice in Wonderland. So I was happy. I'm meeting the people that I meet this guy that's supposed to like walk me down the carpet. He's supposed to like take care of me and this and that. We're just kind of hanging out waiting for the event to start. And I tell her I had my crusty, like nail-less fingers all stubby. And she was like, oh my God, it's totally fine. We can just Photoshop those. We can just Photoshop nails on. And I was like, please do that. So we rush down there. I have my little assistant with me. He has my handle on a piece of paper and my name and all that. So they told me, you're the first person that's gonna walk down the red carpet and you're just gonna, walk down and you're gonna pose for the cameras. And then you're gonna step up onto that stage at the end with all those cameras and they're gonna interview you. Okay? So I just start walking. And I pose at every step and repeat, like, so it has the logos, it's like TCM space, TCM space. And so at every TCM logo, I stopped and posed. Do you want to see how I posed? So I did the hand, actually, let me take this flannel off. I crossed a leg and then kind of put my hand here and let this one arm just kind of dangle, and then kind of tried to arch my shoulder a little bit. And then sometimes I would switch. That's it. There are tons of cameras flashing, their lights are, and it was like peak sun time. So the sun is like blasting in my eyeballs. So it's like this. You're walking down, you're posing, you're smiling, walking down, posing, smiling, and they're like,
Sarah, over here. Sarah, turn your head over here. Can I get you a little bit over here? Can you turn to the right, can you turn to the left, can you put your head up a little bit more?
Finally, when I was like, okay, like I got to the end of it, I walk up on the stage, and they had given me a pre-list of questions that this person was gonna ask me. And so I was like, cool, I'm ready, I'm prepared. And all of a sudden, as I'm standing there, there was one question that was, what classic movie star do you think would be like famous now on TikTok or Instagram, you know, on social? I remembered that question and I had forgotten the person's name. So she's talking, she's like introducing me to the camera, and I am like, what's their name? 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 We threw out his name! I am reaching into the far dark corners of my brain, asking myself, screaming, what was the person that you had picked out in your head? And it wasn't there. So I was just like, and I was even answering questions. I had already answered some questions that she asked, like, what are you so excited to see here? And I was like, oh, I'm excited to see Seven. I'm excited to see Silence of the Lambs, all the true crime film. You know, I was answering questions. Meanwhile, I'm trying to think of this person's name. And then she asks the question. Now, Sarah, what classic actor do you think would do amazing on social now? And I was like, yeah, I froze. I froze in an interview on a red carpet with cameras and a microphone in my face. But then all of a sudden, when I thought that I was just gonna run off the stage screaming, there was a light. There was a light at the end of the tunnel, and his name came back to me. And I was like, Vincent Price. Just the way that he tells stories, that voice, the sets that he uses in all his commercials. I answered it, and then a lady came out of the woodwork, and she was like, okay, we're gonna do that again. We're gonna redo that all again, and go ahead, because it wasn't live.
Gotcha!
This was not a live interview. I kind of let you think it was live for a second, because that's how it felt when you have all these cameras pointing at you. And there were also people watching this. She asked me again, and I said, Vincent Price. How did I forget Vincent Price's name? After that whole debacle and I stopped beating myself up, that's when the frickin' movie stars actually arrived. Samuel Jackson, Uma Thurman, John Travolta, they were all walking down the red carpet, and the crowd, like across the street, there was a whole barricade of people. They were screaming at the top of their lungs. And it was really cool. Like, I was standing right there, like to the side, and Uma Thurman like walked right by me. I have several photos of her up close and one photo of her looking directly at my phone. I didn't want to like get a video and get all up in there. I don't know. I felt weird like being on the carpet and being like, ah. So I just like took a couple photos and then put my phone away and just like let them walk past me, and that was really cool. That was a very cool, like Like I said, I lived in LA for 6 years and I never saw anyone. I only saw Will Ferrell at a restaurant once, and he was like up on a balcony with his family. I just was like, that's Will Ferrell. So this was really cool to see that many people. And then once that all happened and they came in, they got off the carpet, we all filtered into the Chinese theater and we had an interview with the cast of Pulp Fiction, and they just talked about like what it was like on set and like the audition process and stuff. And then once that was all done, they sat down and we watched Pulp Fiction. There was a really hilarious moment where I was walking up to my seat because I was right in the front row for the interview, but I did not want to be in the front row for the movie. So I was walking up the stairs. I walked past Samuel Jackson. He was like mid popcorn, like he had like a nice big handful, and he looked right at me. And I was like, oh, that's funny. Like the fact that I walked past him and he was eating popcorn. They're just like us. That kind of officially kicked off the festival. And that's when I kind of just focused on looking at the schedule and making it to all the movies that I wanted to go to. So I was focusing on true crime and like the movies that they were showing. And then Bobby arrived. She was so freaking sweet. We watched Seven together in IMAX. She had never seen Seven, so what a cool first time experience for her, never seeing that movie. Silence of the Lambs, I watched that. And freaking Jodie Foster was there sitting right in front of me, and I was just like, I am not worthy. Just filming that interview. It was so cool. She had like a really cool vibe about her that a lot of people didn't. Like there were people that were at the show that you could definitely, they were like, yeah,
I'm a movie star. Yeah, so I was in this movie.
She was like not like that at all. She was so chill, and like it felt like you were just talking to a person. I don't know. She just had a very chill, down to earth vibe about her, and I thought that was really cool. Overall, I had a really fun time. The only problems I ran into was with my badge, which I don't know where it is, but like even though I was a VIP, I had several issues getting into different theaters, which I understand, like part of me understands, but at the same time, I'm like, I am here to do a job. I'm working for you guys, and you're not letting me do that job. And so it got frustrating, like having to call Caroline and be like, hey, can you meet me at this theater all the way across Hollywood? I felt like there should have been a content creator badge, something that like showed that I'm here to work for you guys. I'm not here to like sneak into the movie early. But beyond that, the festival seemed to go without a hitch. I made my video, I posted it to TikTok. I thought it did pretty well, even though TikTok decided that it wasn't appropriate for the general public because there is violence. But here's the video that I made for the event.
This weekend, I had the pleasure of attending the TCM Classic Film Festival, and I was especially excited because the theme was Most Wanted: Crime and Justice in Film. There were so many incredible films at this showcase, including Pulp Fiction, Silence of the Lambs, Seven, and of course, Them. But my favorite part of this entire festival was the true crime movies. The Phoenix City story is based on the 1954 assassination of Albert Patterson, who just wanted to clean up the city that was controlled by organized crime. The Prisoner of Shark Island is about Dr. Samuel Mudd, who was sent to prison for aiding and conspiring in the assassination of President Lincoln. In Cold Blood recounts the brutal murders of the Clutter family, all because two robbers want a safe within their house. And my personal favorite, Dog Day Afternoon, which tells the story of three men robbing a bank in 1972, and it goes absolutely terribly wrong. So if you love old Hollywood and you love films, then I would highly recommend attending this event. next year.
And then after the video was posted, it was like chill time. We all gathered in this area by the pool at the last night, and I met so many freaking cool people there. And I'm gonna tag all the people that I met. They're so sweet. Sweetest people. And one of the girls was actually like from upstate New York as well, which I thought that was so bizarre and so like, what? But one of the girls especially, Susie, her and I we just clicked. We were just chatting it up. Oh my God, her and I would hang out like for sure if I lived in Brooklyn. Like, she's from Brooklyn. She does these like amazing burlesque dances, and I saw a couple videos of those, and I was like, oh my God, you're so freaking cool. Like, when people asked me what I did, I was like, I made a dune worm not that long ago. Everyone else had really cool like hobbies, and so, but it was fun. Everyone was so sweet. And we talked about ghosts. We shared ghost stories. That was so fun. And I mean, I had a blast. My interview, you know, I stumbled on that, but Caroline was so sweet, and she was like, they said you did so good. They were like, oh my God, this is her first time? Really? This was her first time? And I was like, Caroline, I don't believe you. They didn't say that.
Oh man. I'm blanking on his name.
But I think I did pretty well. I forgot Vincent Price's name, but everything else I did fine. And then I was interviewed again, and that was impromptu. Like, I was not anticipating that interview, and that one I did really well. I got a little bag of goodies. This was the first, when I like had my mask on and I first met her. She gives me this tote bag. So freaking cute, and it has a bunch of goodies. The freaking fugitive. I didn't tell my wife. Like, yeah, obsessed. A little notebook, and then it has like the legacy of Latin and Hispanic artists in American film. Yeah, so really cool. I also got this amazing water bottle, which was clutch because I had left my hydro flask before I had gotten on the train. You might think, oh, you left it on the train. No. I left it at the station. I walked away from my water bottle at the station. So Sarah didn't have a bottle of water on the train. So that was fun. I felt so blessed, and like the food and everything was paid for. I got to order room service, which I have never done that ever, and I probably will never again, because it was like $90 for one meal, and that makes me sick to my stomach. It was a very new and cool and scary experience for me, and I was so appreciative. Thank you, Caroline, so much if you are somehow watching this. And everyone that was there, like Bobby, Nick, Susie, Marianne, like all of you. So freaking cool. Very sweet people. The cherry on top of this whole entire trip is that me being sick, I was still sick at the end of this trip. I was still coughing. I was exhausted. It was a long trip. The train was 3 days. I missed Colton so much. I had never been away from him for that long, so I was like, I just want to get home, and that outweighed my fear of flying, and I freaking booked a red eye, and I just came home. I was like, I'm done, I'm tired, I just want to go home. I don't want to be on a train for 3 days. Like, no. I faced my fears in the end. I didn't at first, but I did in the end, and I was so proud of myself. I was very scared. I did not want to fly, but I made myself. I was like, Sarah, you want to advance your career. You want to go to more things like this. Just get on the effing plane. And I did. I flew home. It being a red eye kind of sucked. Once again, I did not sleep. I think I missed like at least 4 days of sleep on this trip. I was exhausted. If you have a fear right now that you aren't facing, let me just tell you how amazing it feels. It's worth it to face that fear. I know that you're scared and you're freaked out and you're like, no. It's worth it. It's so worth it, because the way I felt when we landed, I was like, I did that. I got on 2 separate flights alone and got home, and I was like, yes. And I still would have been on that train for 2 extra days. But I wasn't, because I frickin' flew home. If you want to travel by train, I think go for it. We need to support our railroad systems. Bring earplugs if you are broke and you are a light sleeper. If you aren't broke, book a room. Book a room. I cannot stress that enough. Next time I get on a train and we have a little bit of extra money, unless it's like a trip to like Boston or like something like that. But if it's like cross country, somewhere far, booking a room, it's worth it. It's a lot more. Like when you go to book, it's significantly more. But your sanity, your rest, getting a good night's sleep, like that's so worth it. And then your food is complimentary, so that's cool. That's what I did. That's where I went. And I wish I would have documented way more. And I'm sorry I don't have like a ton of clips. I was so sick. I did not feel good. I will get better at this when I do more of these. I was complaining to Nick about like my no nails and like this and that, and he was like, what? This is your first red carpet. There will be another. So just get it right the next time. And I was like, thank you. Thank you so much for listening to my little story. I love you all, my cute and creepy friends. Stay tuned for Halloween hunting videos. They are coming. And I'm going to try to take you more antiquing too, and not just the big stores. Then we're going to be decorating a new house, a new space, and figuring out how to fill that space and what to do with it. So fun. And I might even like have you guys vote on like different themes. I'm trying to figure, I have a couple of themes in mind for the new house, but I would love to get your opinion. So I'm going to have a longer version of videos on my Patreon, as well as art and other things. So just FYI. I love you all, my cute and creepy friends. Stay spooky, stay sane, and happy Summerween. I forgot Vincent Price's name. I shouldn't even be allowed to be a Halloween content creator after that.
Tell us, what are you most excited about with the theme of this year's festival?
I would say the whole true crime genre. I actually had no idea. I knew that there was going to be a lot of thriller movies and the macabre, but I had no idea that there was going to be a true crime category. So I'm very excited. I think In Cold Blood is one of the films that really intrigued me. Beyond that, obviously Pulp Fiction, and Seven, and Rear Window.
Yes, so much to choose from.
Yes.
So if TikTok did exist back during the golden age of cinema, is there a star that you would have loved to see on that platform?
I would have to say Vincent Price. He has such a captivating personality. Not only just like his voice, the backdrops that he would have, and he did some really fun ads in his later years that I was like, I want that. I want what he is selling. So I feel like he would do really well, like storytelling and product
Yeah, he'd be an
advertising.
influencer, wouldn't he?
Yes,
Yeah.
he would.